A year ago, we met Ramaya Chandrasekharan and Arunachalam, who we knew as the ice cream maker and the potter of Kilinochchi. At that time, they were doing their very best to rebuild their lives after a 30-year-old conflict. 1 year on, we paid them another visit to see the progress they have made.
சங்கம் உதவியினால் எங்களுக்கு வீடு தந்து அந்த வீட்டை கட்டியிருப்பதுக்கு அவங்களோட பிரதிநிதிகள் வந்து எங்களுக்கு ஊக்குவித்து அந்த வீட்டை கட்டி தந்தாங்க. நான் அவங்களுக்கு முதல் நன்றி கூற வேண்டும், இந்த பிரதிநிதிகளுக்கு முதல் நன்றியை கூற வேண்டும். அதை கூறினதோடு இருப்பதோடு எங்களுக்கு வாழ்வாதாரம் 20,000 ரூபா தந்திருக்கிறார்கள். அதிலிருந்து நான் ஒரு ஐஸ்கிரீம் தொழில் செய்த தொழில் ஐஸ்கிரீம் தொழில் செய்து கொண்டு வருகிறேன். அந்த தொழிலை மீண்டும் ஊக்குவிக்கணும். அந்த தொழிலினால் என்ற குடும்ப சேவியம் ஓரளவு போய்கொண்டிருக்கு. அதில் மிச்சம் ஓரளவு பணத்தை வைத்து என்னுடைய தொழிலுக்கு நீர் இல்லாதபடியினால் இப்போ என்னுடைய கிணறை ஒரு கொஞ்சமாக கட்டமாக அதை வேலை செய்து கொண்டு வருகிறேன்.
இப்போ நாங்கள் இவங்களுக்கு கொடுத்த காசில் வீடு கட்டி கொஞ்சம் முன்னேற்ற செஞ்சில் சங்கம் கொடுத்த காசில் அவங்க செஞ்ச உதவியில் நாங்கள் கொஞ்சம் காசு போட்டு கட்டணும். இல்லை நாங்கள் கட்டிக்கொள்ள மாட்டோம். வீடுகளும் கொடுத்த காசில் கொஞ்சம் கட்டி போட்டு இந்த புது வீட்டுக்கு வந்துட்டேன். இப்போ வந்து கொஞ்சம் முன்னேற்றமாக தான் இருக்கிறோம். அவங்க செஞ்ச உதவிகளால் தான் கட்டினது, வாக்கிலும் வீடுகள் கட்டினது. எல்லாரும் கட்ட மாட்டோம். இங்கே இடம்பெயர்ந்து வந்து இவ்வளோ கஷ்டத்தில் வந்து கட்டையில் தானே நாங்கள் கடன் பட்டிருந்தாலும் கொஞ்சம் நாங்கள் காசு போட்டு கட்டணும். எல்லாரும் கட்டி ஒன்றும் செஞ்சு கொள்ள மாட்டோம். அவங்க செஞ்ச உதவிக்கு அவங்க நன்றி பாராட்டணும்.
The Red Cross post-conflict recovery program continues to aid people in the north of Sri Lanka. The work progresses. The recovery process is a long one fought with many challenges. The town of Kilinochchi is getting a facelift. The words used to describe the city in the recent past have also changed. Nowadays, when you look around the city of Kilinochchi, one thing stands out. The city is rapidly developing. The government of Sri Lanka has prioritized developing the north of the country. As international pressure mounts to see that living conditions for the people in this area improve, the government has made efforts to rebuild roads, electricity, water and other infrastructure so that private sector development could move into the region without any issues. In a similar way, the Red Cross post-conflict recovery program is also developing. For the past year, the program has managed to complete or to begin the construction of over 2,000 permanent houses in both Kilinochchi and Mullaitivu. In the early part of 2011, the program expanded its benefits to districts of Mannar, Jaffna and Vavuniya as well. With contributions from various national societies of the Red Cross, the program has managed to gain the support of the government of Sri Lanka in the year since it began its operations in 2010.
It's important for me to remind you, when we originally went somewhere around early parts of 2010, in fact, we wanted to go and talk to the communities and try and tell them that we were thinking of this kind of a program. And I could still remember inviting them for a meeting. And the people were only hanging around. They were not willing to even sit down with us until we had to try and say that, we are really coming in. There was a sense of uncertainty. The Grama Niladhari, the GN, in fact, he was doing some other work. And I could still remember my joining with the head of delegation of the Federation, Mr. Bob Macro, to try and convey to people and hand over a document which conveyed that we will be helping them. People smiled and enjoyed getting it, but I am so sure that they were having doubts in their mind, because there was no other organization doing this. There was nobody going there. And we were alone going to try and tell them that we are going to let them, help them to come back to normalcy, try and build their own houses and so on. Today, on the contrast, when we go around in our jeep, they start waving us from far away. That's the difference. They've recognized as someone who has come and done something, and their lives are back to normal.
In the first phase, the program is assisting 2,000 families, including support to host families and communities. This figure was revised to 3,500, with an additional 1,500 families added to the overall figure. The primary target population for the program is in the Kilinochchi and Mullaitivu districts, as well as Vavuniya, Trincomalee, Jaffna, Mana, Anuradhapura and Polonnaruwa. Meanwhile, another project to provide health assistance to returnees who were displaced by the conflict and the development of inter-ethnic confidence for affected populations in eastern Sri Lanka was also launched by the Red Cross. The major activities of the program, launched in September 2009, include the reconstruction and rehabilitation of 7 health facilities, the establishment of mobile health clinics in Trincomalee district, health awareness raising campaigns, and the promotion of humanitarian values. As this program continues to grow in the north of Sri Lanka, we meet people from various walks of lives. Everyone here has a unique and an interesting story to tell. This is Velupille Nagaratnam. He is a father of 4. For over 30 years, he ran from place to place to keep his family safe from the war that was ravaging the north. Nagaratnam heard about the Sri Lanka Red Cross Society's post-conflict recovery program and wanted to see the possibility of receiving aid. He applied for the program and after the initial assessments were made, qualified for support from the program.
கட்டுறதுக்கு ஒரு வாய்ப்பு தந்து அவர்கள் அரசின் உதவியால் நான் ஒரு வீட்டையும் கட்டி இப்போ முடிவடைகிற திட்டத்தில் இருக்குது. அதோட வாழ்வாதாரத்துக்கு கண்டு சொல்லி ஒரு அவர் வந்து ஊக்குவிப்புக்காக ஒரு தொழில் செய்ய சொல்லி எனக்கு தந்தவர். அந்த ஊக்குவிப்பு முகமாக நான் ஒரு என்னோடய வளவில் மிளகாக்கண்டு, தக்காளி கண்டு, கத்திரிக்கண்டுகள் வச்சு உற்பத்தி ஆக்கினால் எனக்கு ஒரு சிறிய அளவு வருமானம் எனக்கு கிடைச்சி கொண்டு வந்தது.
When you look at the progress since last year, it's really encouraging. We started with 300 families and now we are working with 2,500 families. Results are really encouraging. People are slowly getting into their feet. We met Arunachalam, a potter, last year. He was really struggling when we met him a year ago. Now he has completed his house and he's continuing to do with his pottery work without any debt. When we met him last year, he didn't have a working capital to buy his clay. But now he is continuing with his pottery work and without any debt, and he is really better off now.
It is vital for Nagaratnam to return to the area he was born and spend the rest of his life there. To earn a living, he cultivates vegetables to sell at the local market. In order to yield a good harvest, Nagaratnam has to make sure that his crop gets the right amount of water every day. With no pipe-borne water available in the city, he has to manage by drawing it from the well near his house. At this age, pulling buckets of water from a deep well proves a challenge for Nagaratnam. A water pump would help him water his vegetables, but it also means that he have to find fuel to run the pump, a cost he could ill afford. The next best option was to pump water with the help of a solar-powered water pump. With this, he needs only to depend on the sun gods to water his vegetable gardens. Nagaratnam brought this problem to the attention of Red Cross officials.
During the whole program, we are building up a very strong partnership with these communities. We come up with part financing and technical assistance, and they are coming up with part financing and their labor. So we engage them during the whole process and we support them in decision making. Since they are involved in the whole process, the ownership of the beneficiaries or the people who are receiving our assistance is very high. So they make a significant contribution to rebuild their lives. So I have seen them slowly coming out from the agony while being busy with the whole process. It was a fascinating experience.
அந்த சோலாரை ஃபிட் பண்ணி இப்போ அந்த இதுலேருந்து தோட்டங்களை தண்ணி அடிக்கக்கூடிய நல்ல ஒரு வாய்ப்பாக இருக்கிறது. அதோட உற்பத்திகளையும் பெருக்கக்கூடிய ஒரு நல்ல வாய்ப்பு இருக்கிறது. இந்த வாழ்வாதார உதவியை செய்த முறையில் எனக்கு இப்போ உற்பத்திகளை பெருக்கி நாளாந்தம் உழைப்புகள் வருமானங்கள் எடுக்கக்கூடிய நல்ல ஒரு வாய்ப்புகள் இருக்கிறது.
The Red Cross Post-Conflict Recovery Program has now entered the phase of assisting people to rebuild livelihoods. The program identifies the importance of permanent shelter, but it would only be a success if it goes hand in hand with a sustainable livelihood program.
Oh, I think they're delighted at the owner-driven housing program because they can stamp their own individuality on the design, make it slightly bigger, make the ceiling higher if they wish. So they're in control of the construction. But also, I think they like the livelihood part of it because many of them have lost their means of earning a living. So I think the livelihoods has been an incredibly important part of the program. And of course, they notice a difference with having toilets, clean water, that their children are much healthier. So I think it's that whole integrated package of recovery that they like.
The progress of the program has been commendable. With revised appeals and new partners coming on board, the Sri Lanka Red Cross Society has managed to increase awareness on the importance of providing assistance to these people who were battered by a long conflict. The importance of the program is keenly felt. And in the beginning of the year, the president of the Sri Lanka Red Cross Society, Jagat Abesinghe, along with the president of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, Thaduthiru Kanoi, visited the north with key government officials in order to raise awareness. Meanwhile, in the latter part of October 2011, the Secretary Generals of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies in South Asia also visited the program to assess the development and the impact it had among the communities it served in the north. The program has managed to maintain its credibility by documenting all aspects of the program and keeping track of what happens to every cent donated.
This program, from the very beginning, we've identified whom we are helping to. And selection or selecting the people, the beneficiaries, is done by the community. Obviously, the government mechanism provides us the list of names, people who are living there. But the ultimate decision makers are the community who thinks whom we should support. Because when we do a selection criteria, we go and do a review. When we believe that we can help certain number of people, we publish that in public places and we allow a certain time or a week for public grievances. Subsequent to that, we take all their details such as their names, addresses, the identity card numbers, the age, how many children, all that is in one of our databases. These information are now available for anyone, subject to that they subscribe to our program. If they are partner of ours, they can see it not just in Sri Lanka, anywhere in the world. The mechanisms that we developed, the databases that are there, could be seen by anybody subject to they subscribe to that. And further going further from that, we in fact have a photograph, not one, but their development. We have captured them at different times. So if somebody is interested, let's say his name is Nesaraja, who is living in Kilinochchi, and he's been helped by you in somewhere else in the world. If you are interested to know how he moved from the beginning and what is level he is there today, we can show him on our database.
In the regions liberated from conflict, the struggle still continues for women. Having had to go through various hardships in order to raise their families after losing their husbands, livelihoods and basic services in a daily environment where unpredictability was the norm, they no doubt expected some quick relief, some solution to their suffering once the conflict ended. Instead, the end itself put most of them through one last grueling, back-breaking ordeal. For most women of the north and also the east, rebuilding their lives after the war has been an uphill climb. No sooner did their struggles with the war end, a new struggle to meet their basic rights and needs began. The travails of the war saw the number of men in the war-torn areas diminish. As a result, an increasing number of widows found themselves taking care of families alone, providing an income by whatever means possible to their families and trying to survive through the war. Thavarani is one such woman. Not only did she lose her husband, but she was also hit by a shell that crippled her left hand. Without the use of her left hand, it makes it difficult for her to see to the welfare of her 3 young children.
எனக்கு அந்த உதவி திட்டம் முழுமையாக எனக்கு காணாது. இந்த வீட்டை பங்களிப்பு செய்தது காணாது. அதால் இந்த முழுமையாக எனக்கு இந்த காசுலேயே கொண்டு போயிடலாம். எனக்கு எந்த சொந்த உழைப்பில் கொண்டு போகிறதுக்கு மேலாது. அது மாதிரி எனக்கு கை இயலாது. ஆம்பளை உதவி இல்லை. பிள்ளைகள் கஷ்டம். வருமானம் என்ற அளவுக்கு எதுவும் இல்லை. யாரும் தருவாங்க கையேந்துவோம்ன்ற மாதிரி தான் இருக்கிறோம். 1-2 கோழிகளால் வச்சு ஜீவிக்கிறோம். முழுமையான நிம்மதியான இது இல்லை எங்களுக்கு. எந்த உதவியும் இல்லை. கிராமங்களாலும் உதவி இல்லை. அப்படியே இருக்கிறோம் குடியேற்றம் அந்த காலத்திலிருந்து. கேட்குறதும் இல்லைங்க போகிறாங்க இல்லை. இப்போ 1.5 வருஷமாயி.
Daily, she depends on humanitarian aid in order to feed her children. Due to her inability to use her arms in order to build a house, she has to dearly depend on volunteers who would help her to build her house. This was one reason for Thavarani to fall back in the process of rebuilding her house. Today, the Sri Lanka Red Cross Post-Conflict Recovery Programme has taken Thavarani under its wings to help her out of this dreadful situation.
According to the last humanitarian update, there are around 170,000 families needs assistance. When you look at the commitment from the whole humanitarian community, it's around 35,000 families. Work is ongoing with and completed really, it's around 24,000 families. And when you look at the total figure for gap of assistance, it's around 140,000 families. When you look at the needs around really, it's basically on shelter, livelihood, health, water and sanitation, and proper education facilities. So these people have been suffering with this conflict for last 25 years. Humanitarian assistance we have providing has been failed to assist them so far. Still, a major portion of people have not been really received proper assistance.
There was a lot of noise 2.5 years ago about Sri Lanka. Everyone wanted to help, but only part of that help came in. So I appeal very strongly to the international community to dig deep and support the rehabilitation efforts in the north of Sri Lanka.
They're all in difficult situations, but they have been in more difficult positions, and whatever support they have right now, they're very, very appreciative of it. Every rupees that is spent for the beneficiaries is appreciated and is spent for the people who are vulnerable and who need support. A house can be built by our support, but the home has to be built by their contribution. And what they really need is a home that they can be happy and to be peaceful and relaxed.
The Post-Conflict Recovery Program of the Red Cross has managed to open the door to helping a group of vulnerable people who were battered for over 30 years by a brutal war. When you speak to the Thavaranis and Nagaratnams living in the north, one thing is clear. They want their life back. They want the prosperous times they once lived to usher their lives again. They want to rebuild.